Read the last section.
Section 7, this act should take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young.
Announce the results.
Aye, 61.
Bills passed.
Calendar number 1689 by Senator Griffo, Senate Print 6743, an act granting.
There's a home rule message at the desk. The secretary will read the last section.
Section 3, this act should take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young.
Announce the results.
Aye, 61.
Bills passed.
Calendar number 1690 by Member of the Assembly Jaffe, Assembly Print 1231B, an act amending the Agriculture and Markets Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act should take effect on the 120th day.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young.
Announce the results.
Aye, 61.
Bills passed.
Calendar number 1691 by Senator Lanza, Senate Print 7116,
Read the last section.
an act to amend Chapter 154 of the laws of 1921.
Call the roll.
Section 6, this act should take effect upon the enactment. Addabbo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young.
Announce the result.
Aye, 61.
Bills passed.
Calendar number 1692 by Senator Hassel Thompson, Senate Print 7300, an act relating to.
There's a home rule message at the desk. The secretary will read the last section.
Section 2, this act should take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young.
Announce the result.
Aye, 61.
Bills passed.
Calendar number 1693 by Senator Ravello, Senate Print 7403, an act to amend Chapter 395 of the laws of 2008.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act should take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young.
Announce the result.
Aye, 61.
Bills passed.
Calendar number 1694 by Senator Hannan, Senate Print 7439, an act to amend the tax law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act should take effect on the 1st of January.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young.
Announce the result.
Aye, 61.
Bills passed.
Calendar number 1695 by Senator Ort, Senate Print 7468, an act establishing.
Read the last section.
Section 5, this act should take effect on the 60th day.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young.
Announce the result.
Aye, 61.
Bills passed.
Calendar number 1696 by Senator Murphy, Senate Print 7482, an act to amend the tax law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act should take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young.
Announce the result.
Aye, 61.
Bills passed.
Calendar number 1697 by Senator Akshar, Senate Print 7495, an act to amend the mental hygiene law.
Read the last section.
Section 5, this act should take effect on the 30th day.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young.
Results.
Aye, 61.
Bills passed.
Calendar number 1698 by Senator Robach, Senate Print 7514A, an act authorizing.
There's a home rule message at the desk. The secretary will read the last section.
Section 5, this act should take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young.
Announce the result.
Aye, 61.
Bills passed.
Calendar number...
You're just past calendar number?
1698, floor leader.
That's fine, thank you.
Calendar number 1699 by Member of the Assembly
Bills laid aside for the day.
Calendar number 1700 by Senator Ort, Senate Print 7668A, an act directing.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act should take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young.
Results.
Aye, 61.
Bills passed.
Calendar number 1701 by Senator Murphy, Senate Print 7724A, an act to amend the retirement Social Security law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act should take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young.
Results.
Aye, 61.
Bills passed.
Calendar number 1702 by Senator Bonasek, Senate Print 7755, an act in relating to eligibility.
There's a home rule message at the desk. The secretary will read the last section.
Section 3, this act should take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young.
Results.
Aye, 61.
Bills passed.
Calendar number 1703 by Senator Ort, Senate Print 7758, an act amending the environmental conservation law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act should take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young.
Announce the result.
Aye, 61.
Bills passed.
Calendar number 1704 by Member of the Assembly Court, Assembly Print 10121, an act to amend Chapter 538 of the laws of 2013.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act should take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young.
Announce the result.
Ayes 61.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1705 by Member of the Assembly Simotas, Assembly Print 10,357, enact amend the Civil Practice Law and Rules.
Read the last section.
Section 2, the statute take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young.
Announce the result.
Ayes 61.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1706 by Senator Gallivan, Senate Print 7853A, enact amend the Public Health Law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, the statute take effect on the 90th day.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young.
Results.
Ayes 61.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1707 by Senator Amador, Senate Print 7860, enact amend the Public Health Law.
Read the last section.
Section 4, the statute take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young.
Announce the result.
Ayes 61.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1708 by Senator Murphy, Senate Print 7891, enacted direct.
Read the last section.
Section 4, the statute take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young.
Announce the result.
Ayes 61.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1709 by Senator Little, Senate Print 7903A, enact amend the Private Housing Finance Law.
Read the last section.
Section 4, the statute take effect on the 180th day.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young.
Announce the result.
Ayes 61.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1710 by Senator Hannan, Senate Print 7945, enact amend the Public Health Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, the statute take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young.
Announce the result.
Ayes 61.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1711 by Member of the Assembly Galef, Assembly Print 6959A, enact amend the Public Officers Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, the statute take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young. Ayes 60, nays 1. Senator Latimer recorded in the negative.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1712 by Member of the Assembly Otis, Assembly Print 10,351A, enact amend the General Municipal Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, the statute take effect on the 1st of November.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young.
Announce the result.
Ayes 61.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1713 by Senator Lanza, Senate Print 8004, enact amend the General Municipal Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, the statute take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Flanagan, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young.
Senator Kruger to explain her vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, this is a new bill this year, a one-house bill. I don't believe it went through any committee other than rules. And to be honest, I don't know whether there's reasonable argument for this bill or not. It would change the way New York City collects its property tax. It would apparently take a significant amount of untaxable property off the rolls in a certain way, resulting in either the City of New York having to reduce the amount of property tax it collects or require them to increase property taxes somewhere else for somebody because they could no longer use what they now call as the reserve amount as a calculation in their assessments and collection. It's the kind of bill that actually should be looked at very carefully. It's the kind of bill perhaps we should even have public hearings on in relationship to the overall system of New York City property taxes. For the record, this House has any number of times since I have been here urged the City of New York to reevaluate their entire property tax system, modernize it, ensure fairness and equity to everyone who lives in the City of New York and pays their property taxes. If I understood this bill better, if I understood who were the winners and who were the losers if this became law, I might be convinced it was a good idea. What I know is not a good idea is to pass a bill that no one in this House actually understands the impacts of today. It impacts the one system of taxation the City of New York controls for itself. The City of New York doesn't even have a memo pro or con, perhaps because no one even realized this bill existed and was going to come for a vote today. I don't know. I think "I don't know" is the correct sentence for this bill. And in the absence of knowing, I'm voting no. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Kruger to be recorded in the negative. Announce the result.
Ayes 60, nays 1. Senator Kruger recorded in the negative.
Bill is passed.
Excuse me. In relation to calendar 17, ayes 59, nays 2. Senators Hoylman and Kruger recorded the negative.
Bill is still passed.
Calendar number 1714 by Senator Amador, Senate Print 8070, enactment of civil service law.
Read the last section.
Section 20 of the statute take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Fuana, Klein, Stewart, Cousins, Young.
Announce the result.
Ayes 61.
Bill is passed. Senator DeFrancisco, that completes the non-controversial reading of Supplemental Calendar 53A.
I would like to now call an immediate Republican conference in room 332 and stand at ease in the meantime.
Okay, there'll
And
be
we'll
an
be
immediate,
at ease momentarily, and thank you.
be an immediate meeting of the Republican conference in room 332. The Senate will stand at ease. Senate will come to order. Senator DeFrancisco.
Yes, can we now return to the not the controversial calendar, and I'm asking if you would please call up calendar number. 1 second. Where's they want to do the funky? (913), please.
Secretary will ring the bell. Secretary will read.
Joe.
Calendar number 913 by Senator Lanza, Senate Print 4505, an act to prohibit the expenditure.
Senator Squadron.
Sponsor would yield for a question.
Sponsor yield to a question?
Thank
Sponsor
you.
yields.
Just wondering if the sponsor would tell me whether this bill, Senate Print 4505, is the same bill that we have debated in prior years.
Why, yes, Mr. President, it is.
On the bill, Mr. President.
On the bill.
Thank you.
Senator Squadron on the bill.
Thank you. I thank the sponsor for his accurate and illuminating response to my question, my incisive question. This is, as the sponsor says, the same bill that we've debated in prior years. It's a bill that has big ambition relative to national and international affairs that I'll speak about in a moment, but has a very local impact. We all represent districts made up of constituents and neighborhoods, communities. My district happens to include the courthouse for the Southern District, the Southern District of the State of New York, and the Eastern District of the State of New York federal courthouses. They would be significantly impacted by this bill. I understand that when it comes to issues of Guantanamo Bay and enemy combatants and how we defend ourselves against the true risks of terrorism, the political winds blow strongly. However, to all of my colleagues, I urge you to remember that those issues are critical, but our primary responsibility are to our very own districts, to the neighborhoods and communities that we represent. This bill, were it to move forward and become law, would prevent local law enforcement from protecting my constituents, my communities, in the event that folks who were defined as enemy combatants were tried in those courthouses. That, whatever our broader goals, whatever our broader concerns or levels of disagreement, is absolutely unacceptable. My district shoulders more than its fair share of the burden by hosting the Southern District and Eastern District courthouses and many other critical federal and state infrastructure. To burden my district with a prohibition on protecting the citizens and the businesses with local law enforcement and state law enforcement is absolutely unacceptable. And I know each one of my colleagues would say the same about their own districts. We must not allow broader political issues or concerns to create a circumstance where anyone's constituents, anyone's community or neighborhoods have their hands tied when it comes to protecting them, especially when you're talking about the NYPD, the New York Police Department, which is the world's best when it comes to preventing and fighting against risks of terrorism. The idea that we would take parts of my district on both sides of the Brooklyn Bridge and prohibit them from getting that support is something that I think we can all join in supporting my communities against this bill. I would also point out, this is not an academic issue. On May 24th of this year, the Southern District brought charges against Sajmir Alameti for providing material support to ISIL or ISIS, including military knives and equipment. Presumably, Mr. Alameti will be tried in the Southern District Courthouse, just a few blocks from residences and schools in my district. And were this bill law, potentially it could be without the protection of NYPD for any of the associated security needs or the state police. You know, it's particularly difficult to know when this would apply and when it wouldn't, since the phrase enemy combatant used in this bill was actually in 2009 done away with by the Obama administration. It is no longer a phrase or a definition that is used by the federal government. In prior years, the sponsor and I have discussed in detail how one would define who an enemy combatant is or not, and I've been told that it would be based on the federal definition. Well, there is not an active federal definition that's consistent with the one it was before 2009, and while it still exists for purposes of the Geneva Convention, it changed in 2002, and again in 2009, and may change again in the future. That sort of evolving federal definition should not be something on which we hinge the ability to protect local communities in our district. In fact, the phrase enemy combatant or unlawful enemy combatant was used to justify things like stripping detainees of the habeas corpus and other rights, which no longer apply at the time they are being tried in a civilian courtroom. So does this bill apply to current enemy combatants, prior enemy combatants, people who some percentage of us in this room might consider to be enemy combatants? It's not defined in this bill, and that's an additional problem. If I were to go into another borough or another county and say, because of something the federal government is doing, because of a land use policy or something else, you don't deserve the protection of local law enforcement, It would be unacceptable. We don't do that to each other's districts, and that is the impact of what this bill would do. I know that the district I represent is central in many of our minds. We suffered the attacks of September 11th in a primary way. We are full of some of the most extraordinary landmarks in the country or the world: the Statue of Liberty in Ellis Island, the Brooklyn Bridge, the World Trade Center site, and the extraordinary memorial that has been built there to the tragedy of September 11th, 2001. New York Harbor. It is a district that rightfully all of us focus on, and I appreciate the shared focus from my colleagues. However, it does not change the fact that at the end of the day, I have about 300,000 constituents who are making their lives in these neighborhoods, trying to get by, sending their kids to school, playing in Little League on the weekends, just like in every other district in this state. And the idea that we should allow local law enforcement to be hamstrung in protecting them is unacceptable. I urge my colleagues to join me in voting no. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Squadron. Senator Lanza.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the bill, what this bill simply says is that when a foreign enemy combatant wages war against the United States of America, that this state, the people of this state, would not pay for a civil criminal trial of that enemy combatant. Now, I must say that if what Senator Squadron is suggesting would happen is true, I would completely agree with him. No, his district or any district in this state should not be deprived of public protection under any circumstances. But the idea behind this bill is this. It seeks to cause one of two results. First, the hope which motivated me to author this legislation is that if this were to become the law in the state of New York, the federal government would decide not to offer civil criminal trials to foreign enemy combatants waging war against the country, and would, in the alternative, try them where they ought to be tried, which is in a military tribunal. The same place, by the way, an American soldier would be tried if an American soldier were to be accused of any wrongdoing. And as I've said in the past, as we've discussed and debated this bill, if it's good enough for an American soldier, it's more than good enough for a terrorist. The second potential result in the event that the federal government would still, when faced by this law, persist in offering a civil trial to an enemy combatant is that the people of the state of New York would not have to pay for it. So it is my belief that if this were to become law, it is not a question, through you, Mr. President, Senator Squadron, of whether or not public protection will be offered. It's a question of who will pay the bill. And I believe if this were to become the law, in the event that a civil trial were offered, it would be the federal government that would foot the bill and not the people of the state of New York. And of course, really my primary motivation is to not even get to that point, and I would rather see that these enemy combatants are tried in a military tribunal. So that's the point of the law, and I would encourage my colleagues to vote in favor of this. I vote aye.
Senator Lanza, you'll be recorded in the affirmative. Senator Sanders.
Add a technical point to you, my esteemed colleague.
You on the bill, Senator Sanders?
Yes, I am on the bill. If we stop calling them enemy combatants and you move them to a military trial, you have elevated them as to an equal combatant as to the government. Right now, these people may not be government forces, You would, in one sense, you would make ISIS unequal to the U.S. By them doing a civil trial, it is saying that they are not unequal to the U.S. and they would be judged as terrorists. Civil puts them in terrorists. A military trial is saying that they are a combatant, an equal combatant to the U.S. That would not be a wise move, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Sanders. Senator Squadron, you wish to be heard?
Just a brief addendum to agree with the sponsor of the bill. If we could get the federal government to pay more here, we should. In fact, in Lower Manhattan, we need more resources from the federal government. So that is a point, a significant agreement, and I know the ultimate goal of the sponsor here. At the end of the day, we come down on different sides of this bill. But I do want to point out that, to be very clear, the sponsor and I agree the federal government should be doing more to provide aid and support for the security needs and resiliency needs and a whole lot of other in Lower Manhattan and elsewhere in the city. Thank you. I'm still a no.
Senator Squadron to be recorded in the negative. Are there any other members wishing to be heard? Seeing none, the debate is closed. The Secretary will ring the bell. Senator Marcelino.
Yes, Mr. President, if possible, and I'm sure it is, we could lay this vote aside, and we could take up the controversial reading of Senate 6733 by Senator Funke. We're going to come back to the vote later, but we're going to debate at this point in time Senate 6733.
Calendar number 913 will temporarily be laid aside. Secretary will read.
Calendar 1566 by Senator Funke, Senate Print 6733, an act to authorize.
Senator Hoylman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would the sponsor yield for some questions?
Will the sponsor yield?
Yes, certainly.
Sponsor yields.
Thank you. Mr. President, could I receive an explanation of the bill from the sponsor?
Sure. This was a bill that was put into a statute by Senator Little in 2015. It was a bill to create an award, but it was a bill that was, at the time, we needed to authorize that award to be given out. And this bill is the Edward Hopper Award that is given to an artist born in New York State who has done the bulk of his work in New York State. It's an award given by the New York State Council on the Arts.
Thank you. Would the sponsor continue to yield?
Sponsor continue to yield?
As I understand, we passed this bill in 2015. What is different in this version of the legislation?
This just permits the authorization of the money to be spent by the New York State Council on the Arts and actually distribute the $10,000 award if they see fit.
Would the sponsor continue to yield?
Will the sponsor continue to yield?
The primary goal of the legislation is certainly laudable, to clarify that the New York State Council on the Arts can award these certificates of merit. The Edward Hopper Award. Edward Hopper was a painter who actually lived in my Senate district. But there's language in the bill that is concerning. Can the sponsor explain why these awards should be limited only to candidates who were born in New York State?
Yeah, through you, Mr. President, the bill says shall be permissible, does not require, first of all. And second of all, it's specific to this particular award. There can be other awards that the Council of the Arts may see fit to disseminate to other individuals who may not necessarily have to be born in New York State. There are any number of awards and scholarships across our state and a lot of platforms that have specific requirements attached to them and parameters. And this is one that we felt was a good one since he was born here in New York State, since this is an award that bears his name, since he did all of his work here in New York State, since this is an award that's going to be given in his name, Edward Hopper, that should go to somebody born in New York State.
Senator Hoylman.
Would the sponsor continue to yield?
Sponsor
Yes.
yield?